Good evening, everyone, and welcome to At America, the U.S. Embassy's American Center, with me, Hasna Rohani, as one of the guests here in At America. According to the United Nations, two-thirds of the people in this world will live in cities by 2050. By means, most of the solutions concerning sustainable development will be made in cities in the future. So, would you like to develop future cities that are environmentally, economically, and socially sustainable? Join us on an enlightening discussion today on sustainable urban development. But before we begin, let us hear an opening remark that will be delivered by the cultural attaché of the U.S. Embassy Jakarta. Please give a warm welcome to Emily Yasmin Norris.
Selamat malam semua. Terima kasih sudah hadir acara At America. We're very glad to have you here tonight, joining us for a very important discussion about the future of our cities and therefore the future of our world. At America, as you know, is our cultural center for the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta and across Indonesia. We are very lucky tonight to have a special speaker as part of our U.S. government speakers program, Ms. Lucia Athens, who comes with over 10 years of experience as the Chief Sustainability Officer at the city of Austin in Texas, as well as having worked in other cities across the United States and authored multiple books on urban sustainable development. Why do we have tonight's program? Because, as Hasna clearly stated, the future of our world is going to be decided by cities. And the United States and Indonesia, as two of the world's largest democracies with growing diverse populations, are working together to fight climate change and to ensure that the cities that we develop are good for our people and are sustainable and are good for the world. And that's why we have programs like this to share ideas across our peoples and between our nations to better come up with solutions to the global problems that we face together. We're very grateful to all of our speakers tonight to share their experiences and their expertise, and hopefully this will be an open discussion, but not the first discussion that you come to at America. We hope all of you will continue to engage with At America on all of our programs and follow us on social media or at the U.S. Embassy Jakarta social media, and that we look forward to hearing your questions during the question and answer session during the panel. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Welcome to Lucia and the rest of our distinguished panel for what I hope is a wonderful discussion on how we can work together to create sustainable future for all of our cities in Indonesia, the United States, and the world.
Thank you very much, Bu Emily, for the warm welcome. And now, before we jump into our panel discussion, I have here a little trivia quiz for you. And the question for today is, urban sustainability builds along the three pillars of sustainability, except, is it A, environmental eco-sustainability, B, economical sustainability, C, social sustainability, or D, political sustainability? You may type in your answer at any time during the session on our social media platforms. The lucky one who can guess the answer correctly will get a live shout out from us by the end of this event. Don't forget to do that because we really like to get everyone actively involved in this event. Other than that, don't forget to take pictures and tag us on our social media platforms. And now, to begin our session, allow me to introduce you to our moderator for today's session, the co-founder and executive director of Rujak Center of Urban Studies, Ibu Elisa Sutanujaya. The stage is yours.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Hi, so I will be the moderator for this session. So can I sit down? Okay, right? Okay. So, I'm a little bit nervous, but I hope I didn't uh, mess this up. So it will be my honor to also welcome the speakers here. We have three speakers. One is coming directly from Austin. She just arrived like Saturday, right? You still jet lag. But the good thing is she's here, and we are fortunate to have her here because Indonesia have. Do you know how many cities that we have? Can you guess? No, 98 cities in Indonesia. So, and then we have like 400 regions. So everything that related to cities, it become very prominent in here and very important to learn from. And we can also learn many things from other cities and also from other countries about their experience here. So I'm very happy to introduce Lucia Athens. She's the City of Austin first Chief Sustainable Officer. We don't have any Chief Sustainable Officer here yet, but hopefully we're going to have one if we want to make our city more sustainable. Maybe one thing that we can learn from Austin here in this case. And she's also a licensed architect. She's already been one of the leaders since like 30 years ago that are working in the issues of sustainability. And to join me here also there will be Pak Angga Sinaga. Maybe many of you know him as an architect or planner for New Capital, yeah, from Urban Plus. And then we also like to have Ibu Doti Wijayani, which is the head of, can I say like chief, Jakarta Institute of Architects. Is it chief or head or chief, right? Yeah, yeah. We kind of like have a good gender balance here with 3 women and 1 man. So good thing because usually in the issues of architecture and engineering, woman is outnumbered by men. So it's good that we have finally woman is outnumbered. Finally, we have more numbers than men in this panel.
The future is female.
Yes, I agree. Yay! Yeah, so I don't know whether you've been to Austin before, but couple months ago, I read this piece from New Yorker, and in this piece, it's just like about how Austin have already changed a lot within the past, I don't know, past 20 years, and because it become the fastest growing metropolitan in the U.S. So it's like every day you have 200 or 300 new people, while of course some people move out from the Austin as well. So it's just like, it's just when I read the introduction about Austin, it's just remind me to Jakarta on steroid, like Jakarta, what happened in Jakarta in 1980 or 1990s, when we have this growing, when we have these fastly growing cities like Jakarta, where newcomers come every day and then of course by the end of the day we have also sprawling cities like we knew today we have this Serpong, Tangsel and all those things that also part of Jakarta. So it will be interesting to know what kind of with this kind of city and how these fast growing cities that happen in Austin and also is a home for Elon Musk now, right? And because of the
Yes,
Tesla. Yeah, because of Tesla and now become city of billionaires as well, like 16 billionaires
Yes.
live there.
Yes.
Yeah, so suddenly it changed, like it's become gentrified and everything.
Yes, one of the big challenges in our city of Austin is how many, as you were saying, new people are coming in who don't really understand our community. And then the displacement that happens from many people who have lived there for a long time and now they can't afford the city anymore, so they get pushed out to even outside the city limits and they may have to drive in. It's interesting because the fact that we have so much growth happening, we're trying to figure out how to balance the growth at the same time maintaining the quality of life that we expect in the city. How do we provide the services that everybody needs, the utilities? How do we have enough parks to get everybody out doing recreation? That's one of the reasons they moved to Austin, is for a lot of the outdoor opportunities. So as such a fast-growing place, you were saying, like Jakarta on steroids, it's challenging, but it's also very exciting and it's very dynamic. And we have so much talent in our city. And I feel like the program tonight is really interesting, and what I've been able to learn so far since I've been here about the plans for the new capital. You don't every day get an opportunity to build a brand new city, right? That's something that only happens once in a lifetime. And you don't want to mess it up. So I've seen some very, very visionary plans and goals for the capital, and I know there's going to be key performance indicators, KPIs. So as the development of the capital progresses, it's going to be so important for us to kind of see how we're measuring our success and how do we build a new city to be carbon neutral. I think that's one of the really big challenges that everybody's trying to figure out. How can we have a carbon neutral society, and how can we be intentional with what we're doing? We created climate change not on purpose. We created climate change by accident, an unintended consequence of the Industrial Revolution. So knowing everything that we know now, how can we make sure we're not creating new unintended consequences, but we're putting forward solutions that help to solve things like the climate challenge that we now know is so critical for all of us.
Yeah, you mentioning about carbon neutral and also climate change. Here's the paradox. As we know that, cities, of course, this is like cities like the main contributor for climate change. Like UNEP say that like 70% of carbon emission is coming from cities, while at the same time this construction and architecture also contribute quite high to climate change, like 38% or 40%. Yeah, you can use the number from UNEP or from other organizations, but basically we are the main contributor for the climate change. So, and also you also mentioning that Austin grows so much. So what we really want to know, what kind of urban transformation that happening in Austin that make sure that your growth is not really have these intended consequences that harm the next generation.
Yeah, thank you. That's really something I'm excited to share with people, because even though we have so many challenges, I do feel like we are making progress, and we are unlocking some new solutions. So, as you say, so much of the carbon emissions comes from cities. Well, really, it's coming from people. Not through any fault of their own, but it's the electricity and the water and the waste and the transportation that people need to live their daily lives. So we're not just indiscriminately doing these things. We're trying to provide for the needs of our population. So we've had several really interesting projects that they're sort of like cities within the city, neighborhoods within the city that we've had the opportunity to completely redevelop. One is on old abandoned infrastructure, but it was like right in the middle of Austin. It's called the Seahome Eco District. Yeah, we could show a little bit of that. I think around slide 30 or so on the sustainable development deck that I brought, in case that could be brought up. And so that redevelopment opportunity took land that really was not being used at the time, right on the edge of our downtown. And we were able to come up with a plan. You can just keep going forward pretty quickly through to around 30. This is a building that's in the neighborhood. That's the new Central Library. That's a LEED Platinum project. So it was the first platinum project that the city of Austin was able to do for our own buildings. Next. This is the green roof on the project. So you can see those tall buildings in the background, that it's right on the edge of downtown. And this is on the green roof on the left, looks out over the river that runs right through the middle of our city, that is used for recreation. And on the right is the building. The library also has several very large screen porches where you can go out with your book and sit and be protected from the sun and from insects, and read with a fan. There's also a butterfly garden on that green roof in the event space. Next slide. One thing that I wanted to talk about, and we'll get, I have a few more about the neighborhood, but really is just the city's commitment to clean energy. So we are in the process of meeting carbon-free energy production by within the next 10 years or less. So we're making large-scale investments in large-scale wind and large-scale solar, and then we also invest a lot in rooftop solar throughout the city. So the next slide will talk a little bit about this, the neighborhood chilled water. We're also doing water capture and reuse on site. So we provide a lot of our utilities, as many cities do, at the very large scale, but we're experimenting a lot with how we can also provide part of the utility needs at the neighborhood scale and then at the individual building scale. So we have all three of those scales. Thank you. Very, very important. And then on the transport, we're investing a lot in electric vehicles, public transportation, and bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, so people can be safe as they're out moving around. I'm not sure where I need to point that. There we go. So yes, our net zero by 2040 with carbon-free electricity. I talked about the solar and the electric vehicles. This is the neighborhood, the Seaholm Eco District. It's about 90 acres, so it's a very robust mixed-use neighborhood with people living in the condominium towers, many workers. We have the Google building in the city, also Facebook. And we are delivering the building cooling through a district scale chilled water loop system. So our electric utility operates this chiller in the upper right image. There's actually two chillers in the neighborhood. They deliver through a loop pipe system the chilled water that allows the large buildings not to have to have their own chillers on the roof. It frees up the roof for that things like the green roof I showed you at the library. And the advantage for the electric utility is one of the big challenges for electric utilities is what they call the peak load. That's when everybody in the middle of the afternoon has turning on their air conditioning and running all of their equipment and machinery, and that is what the highest amount of demand that the utility must provide for. Then at night, when a lot of people are asleep, that's called the off-peak, and we don't need as much capacity at that time, and a lot of the capacity is sitting there kind of dormant. So at night, they make ice with the off-peak power, and then they use the ice to cool the water and deliver the chilled water to the neighborhood. So that's been a very popular and exciting way to provide some of the utility needs for cooling. And then we also have large-scale water treatment. We treat our wastewater at the wastewater treatment plants and then deliver it back to the neighborhood and other places in the city through, we call it a purple pipe system. And the purple pipe signifies that the water that's being delivered is this treated wastewater. So it's not to potable levels, but it's excellent for irrigation, for toilet flushing, and also for use in cooling towers. And then from transportation, just very quickly, we have a lot happening with electric vehicle infrastructure in the city. We have electric vehicle incentives. We have a lot of bicycle infrastructure with protected bicycle lanes. We also have the pedicab, like on the right, is very popular in the city. Everybody who comes to visit Austin wants to ride where they're going in the pedicabs. It's a lot of fun. You see people using those. And just wanted to go back for a second. On the upper image up here shows a pedestrian bridge, pedestrian only, and pedestrian bicycle that goes across the Lady Bird Lake, which is it's a river, but it's dammed up, so we call it a lake, but it's really a river running right through the middle of the city. It's very popular. People get married on the bridge. They have yoga. They have dance performances. And then also the lower left image is a little bit further away from downtown. We have a loop trail that goes all around that's very popular. And some of the trails are on the ground. But this one is actually an elevated boardwalk that completes the loop. Super popular on the weekends, really anytime. It gets a lot of use. And then we're investing in rail. We are very focused on cars in Texas. Everybody wants to get in their car, so we have to do a lot of behavior change to get people out of their cars, to take the bus rapid transit or to take the train. We have train service now to our Major League Soccer stadium. So I talk to people about how riding the train to get to the soccer game is almost as much fun as being at the soccer game. It's like a major party on the train. So making some of these alternatives attractive for people, and you find out it's actually more fun than sitting alone in your car in traffic. And I am what they would call a poster child for public transportation because I met my husband on the bus in Seattle.
Oh, that's lovely.
So, yeah. Okay, so I'll stop there.
Yeah, it just make me. I'm very happy to see this bus rapid transit on the picture here because Jakarta has the longest bus rapid transit network in the world right now. But unfortunately, I think our ridership is like only 1 million per day. So we could do better, because we have this longest PRT system in the world. So yeah, but maybe we should improve something like that nicely. You can bring your bike along with your bus, but in
Yes.
here, unfortunately, we cannot do that. Yeah. So
You bring your bike, and we can do a marketing program that says, you don't need Tinder, you just ride the bus.
That's good. That's really good. I'm going to just that after that to Transjakarta. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, maybe I'm going to Ibu Doti. What do you think after you saw all this? And probably some of them already happened in Jakarta. Probably something that could be contextual to Jakarta, or maybe not. Or what is your opinion as a chief of Jakarta Architects?
Yeah, we are on the preparation going to that stage actually. I have a presentation,
Oh,
a
yeah,
small
please do.
presentation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We are going to that stage because at this moment, the improvement of public transportation and others going. Yeah, a small presentation about the Jakarta itself. Actually, this year Jakarta has celebrating the 469 years to go to the half century. And our country, Indonesia, will coming the golden age on the next 22 years. We should have a kind of these milestones with strategic plans to achieve our sustainable goals within those years. So this year, we also celebrating the new role of Jakarta, transition preparing to be global city after a new capital announced. Yeah, this is Batavia, yeah, the Queen of the East, yeah. And at that moment, it's a trading hub, capital trading hub in Asia. So if you see in this one, the system of the town itself is already have a canal as others, and unfortunately, most canals at this moment disappear, yeah, because of the rapid development of Jakarta itself. Okay. This is Jakarta. Jakarta has a geopolitical position. That's why we have a important role on that. This one is Jakarta, located in the delta actually. Jakarta is located in the delta, and we have 11.25 million, and the agglomeration is about 30 million. It's have a kind of pressure in environmental and social disaster actually for us. It's a kind of our challenge of resilience. So that's a complexity of Jakarta. So, and then this is our Jakarta at this moment. We have natural Indonesian, and also have a challenge of commuting, and we have a problem in waste management. And in 2017, Joe Biden already talked that Jakarta will be seen. That's our problem actually. It awakened us. And also this year, these weeks, we have a not good quality, air quality actually. And because of our development in surrounding, like a power supply, also from the vehicle movement to and from Jakarta. It's a lot, yeah. And this is the data. The big issues is from the coal power supply, and also the transport issues. Yeah. Also, we have problem with this one, the waterways. We have 13 rivers, and from the highland and others, yeah. And this is one of the plan for future Jakarta at that moment for Jakarta coastal defense strategy. But at this moment, maybe it's still going or not. I'm not sure about it. And it also has a social issues on this area, yeah, Bu Elisa. Instead of the growing of this commercial area and others, but we have a social issue blocking by this development. So just fast one, this is our island on the northeast, and then this is North Jakarta. So you can see what will happen in North Jakarta. And this is the East Jakarta. East Jakarta is actually the kid from other area. Yeah, this is we find the bullet train here, and also the new LRT system. This is Central Jakarta. We have a lot of kind like this in development in Central Jakarta, and we have the West. The West we have kind of the high density area in the Asia. Yeah, yeah, Bu.
Tambora.
Tambora,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is close to the his heritage and conservation area, and it's blocked actually this area to be developed at this moment. And also in the south part of Jakarta is what actually is it's a green area in for Jakarta itself, but now there's a lot of development also there. Okay. And now we are connected, Bulucia. We are now connected because we have MRT, have a BRT and LRT, so people started to commit it very well and more convenient than before. Yeah, this is some slides about Jakarta. We have polluted. And this is what we found in the coastal, Bu Elisa, where we have to manage the social issue there. So this one is the challenge of Jakarta. We have to be sustainable to get the global city, because the government vision is Jakarta should be a global city. How we can make that? We have to be sustainable, and before we reach the global city issues itself. Okay, we should discuss about our ecological balance, economic and social balance through spatial planning and building plan. Yeah, this is a transportation system with impacting spatial planning of Jakarta. This is Jakarta in two phases. We have like this. This one arranged by Bu Elisa. We have what we call community participation development, and this one is a private development, integration and other things. We should have kind of this balance for the development for Jakarta in the future. Yeah. We now have a green area, and I believe we should have kind of regulatory framework and public-private community and also professional academic contribution. What we do in Jakarta is really for associations to have we have to make sure that our profession have awareness and competency, and also have a coordination with all city stakeholders, the government and developers and the academics and NGO and others for the contribution for the people and the city. That we call IAI Jakarta Lestari is our program. Yeah, this is actually all about the sustainable issue as already catered with the government through regulation. Yeah. Okay. This is I see from the sample that there is maybe we can discuss in the future about the collaboration with the U.S. Partners about how to manage the city, the salt nature-based solution for the city. This is a sample of that. This is what this is made in Miami, and then maybe we can have a kind of a further study about that. It's a good sample for our cities. And this is our program for so far for this moment to encourage awaken people about the sustainability. Thank you. That's our program and our concern about Jakarta actually. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Ibu Doti, you don't really have to worry about Jakarta not being global, because since Batavia time, since we are the capital for VOC, we are already global, especially the VOC is like the first multinational company since like 17th centuries, since 17th centuries. But I'm a little bit worried about Nusantara, and we have the planner here, because if you consider city, actually city is a Latin word, which is the meaning of that is coming from community. So you cannot have city without people. But then we going to build city from the scratch, and what's going to happen in our new capital city, and maybe the planner can also enlighten us about what kind of city without its people, and what kind of how to achieve Nusantara that can be a city for the people. Maybe you have some slides, Pak?
Yeah, I have some slides if you can help to put it down. So, okay, thank you, Ibu Elisa, thank you, Lucia, and also Ibu Doti. So, to begin with, I have to rephrase it. Actually, I'm not the planner, but I'm part of the planner team. It's a big team. It's more than 40 people, came from different backgrounds also, and have to taking care all of the challenges of the Nusantara. So I think, please allow me to give some perspective before we come to Nusantara. Yeah? So I will take us to a very quick tour about how actually the perspective of urban development in the Asia region, Lucia. So this is a very a famous place in South Korea. Why I began with this? Because it used to be a very poor area that doesn't have any infrastructure long time ago. And then come the infrastructure, become modernized. It's always happened in all of the third world country. And this is what we begin with also in Jakarta. We build the flyover, we build the road, and also we start to depend to the car. And this is one of at one moment this is like the resembling of the modern city. But then what happened now? It become like this. So they decide to back to the nature and tore down all of the flyover and getting back all of the river, even though it's not a real sort of like natural river, but they make it a system to make it like this. All of the habitat come back to the life. But then this is the one of the model how we see the urban development in the Asia region. And then let's try to look for another examples. Yeah, so from the very poor urban development and then have modern infrastructure and then come back to the sort of like sustainable development. What happened in our neighboring country? It's also happening with a very same pattern. And I was very lucky because I was involved in the competition also of this part of Kuala Lumpur. It's the River of Life is Klang River and Gobak River revitalization, and it also used to be very hard infrastructure space. It become the back of the building. If we see all of the space, it's actually the backyard of the building, the surface and everything, and nobody look at the river at all. But then with the vision of the city leader, we entered the competition with our previous office and we won the competition. And then it getting realized in about 8 years. The main purpose of this project is actually to bring back the life of the river to become the soul and the heart of the city. And this place, Masjid Jamek, this point actually is become the ground zero of Kuala Lumpur. It started all here. So they want to bring back all of this. This is our vision on the competition in the team again, and then it become realized in several years. And we can see how actually they are trying to make this area more sustainable, even in the stages. Yeah, no, so it doesn't change right away. So they are starting to make at least now the beautification of the promenade, edge of the river, and then they are starting to tear down all of this in several years and make it more like natural edges and soft edges. But then we also can see how actually the infrastructure development is also directing how the city grows and how the people will become. And at one moment, at the end of the day, the city decide to go back to the nature in a particular way. Of course, every context, every city have a different character. But then when we have a challenge to also see this, and again, this is also another case in South Korea. It used to be a railway line, but now it become one of the longest open space corridor in the city. It used to be like this several years ago, and then all of the technology coming in, they put all of the train underground, become the subway, and then all of this railway alignment starting to change and transform into one big corridor of open space, and not also become an ecological corridor, but also give a higher value to all of the property along it. So this is one of the biggest scale that I've been seen in Asia, that actually the urban redevelopment really give a lot of dimension, to the city. It's very long. So again, one of the things that we need to learn from this is it happened during two leadership of the mayor. So not only one, but two leadership, they working hand in hand, continuing the plan, and they also engage the community. And that's what they have right now. So this type of development also, we are trying to capture, and I also try to learn how all of the thing with the very same similar pattern happening, and what happened when we have a challenge to do the new capital. This new capital looks very green, of course, because this is one of the image from the competition. Yeah, it looks like a forest city, but then we also have a challenge that with all of the vision from the president, yeah, the country leader, to do the transformation, including how we deal with the nature, and what we see and what we face, all of the team, even all of the people from the ministry in the field, is how we have to deal with a very green, not very green, I mean, it's not a man-made area right now, and we have to deal with how we put a city program next to the river, next to the forest, and next to all of this existing nature. So I think the sustainability that we want to achieve in this plan is like the ultimate and become the example for the nation. And also what the President Jokowi said actually is a gift to the world. But that's a very high, it's a very tall order. And during the planning process, even though we sort of like put a lot of KPI, we have 5 dimensions with almost 42 KPIs, and all of that have to be reached within a lot of party, a lot of people, a lot of organizations have to work together, a lot of coordination. One of the thing that actually very luxurious in Indonesia, coordination between the party. So we have to learn it and we have to do it that way. So we can deal with this kind of topography. If you can see, this is the thing that actually we never faced before. No other, I mean, no one and no developers have been faced this kind of unique topography, and we have to deal with. And so even though we don't make it up, but what we have to do is a new city, a new capital with the arrangement of like an archipelago, because all of these things is actually divided and trimmed by a lot of small stream and rivers. So it really looks like in a representation of Indonesia, an archipelago. All of the built area have to sit next to the nature, and as you see, all of these things actually give us a challenge. How actually to deal with all of this transformation and really make I mean, do a promise that we want to move from the green field to the sustainable city, but then it has to go through a very complicated process. Sustainability is not only about the physical, I believe everyone is agree on that, but also the social and the cultural sustainability is the highest and the tall order that we need to achieve together. Not in the 1 or 2 years, but maybe in a longer time. So when we face this, we think about Jakarta also, and if we think about the infrastructure we've seen in the previous presidents and examples, they built the infrastructure, South Korea and also Kuala Lumpur, but then at the end of the day, they change and transform the infrastructure, become the soft infrastructure, green spaces, open spaces, and this is what we have right now. This is like, for me, actually this is the moment, Bu Doti, Bu Elisa also, we can do like a double steps while other country needs to build the infrastructure first and then come back to the nature, but we can do both at the same time because we have the opportunity right now. Jakarta will not become the capital longer, but then the opportunity to free up the space, make it more green, and still develop it side by side with this kind of modern infrastructure, it will be the very best case if we can do it together. So I think this is like a couple of my last slides. So it's showing how actually the infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure, Transjakarta, MRT, LRT, etc., actually already starting to rise up and more people starting to use the public transport because it's also supported by a new revitalization of the pedestrian path. So we can see that all of the numbers actually showing a progress, a very good progress from only 500, and then we get 200 kilometers revitalized, and the next year on the 2019 we get more, and now we can see that actually more and more people shifting from the private vehicle to the public transport, using all of the supporting amenities. So I think this is a very good moment, a very good time. This is one of the junction that actually we did as a very small contribution to the city, how we focus and prioritize the pedestrian to be, to go across the road without really, and make the car sort of like respecting them. So at the end of the day, this is what we want to achieve. How all of the sustainability things and with all of the elements can make the human development index higher, because this is one of the the final goal of how we gonna raise the country, elevate the nation to the international level and can work with others, and we can also be the winner in 2045. But I think all of these dreams, all of this vision, we have to do it together. And we start to see this sort of like scenery in the photo, that actually people start to have activity next to the pedestrian path. People start to engage, and people have to. I mean, they are now starting to walk more than using a car. And even in Jakarta now, I think the bicycle rider is getting more and more, including myself, since the pandemic. And I think that's the vision that we want to achieve. If we want to get the sustainability, if we want to get the sustainable urban development, I think we need to see what we have right now and what we can do from each of our level. I think that's my sort of like, sorry if a bit too long, but that's my take on how we're gonna have a new capital, but at the same time, we have to taking care of what we have in Jakarta. Thank you, Bu Elisa.
So the good thing about being cities in developing countries, because we can learn from mistake that coming from developed countries. So, but sometimes, like for example, in our Chiru, like Ibu Doti said, we have 13 rivers, but unfortunately, many rivers are currently undergoing of concretization. So many of them transform from stream into canals with concrete. So maybe we don't really want to pass to the similar thing with what happened with Cheonggyeongcheon. For example, you have to go to build the railroad the highway first, then you turn it down. Why don't we just skip that part? Just go straight to the stream one with the nice public parks. Why we have to go to this highway first? So and then coming to that. My question about that, because I know that you are also a landscape architect, right? Yes. So, and then I guess by the time you see all this concrete and all those things, you have this, why you have to build like something like that? And again, because Austin there is like Jakarta on steroid right now, meaning that you have to do a lot of construction, and concrete is like the fastest thing. So how can you integrate between what you have right now in Austin with this structure and everything, and then try to integrate the landscape into and then move Austin to become more sustainable? Is there any tips?
Yeah, that's a great question to ask, and I do think about cities that way because of my landscape architecture training. We look a lot to cities like Singapore with the integration, of vegetation into the buildings with the green roofs and living walls. But we don't have as much of that in Austin yet as we want to. So we are adopting a new landscape code that actually is copied from Berlin and from Malmo, Sweden, where they reward these other types of landscape in the landscape requirements. So it's not just about trees and grass, which we also want to have the trees, but it's a way to encourage the developers, to have more of a menu of different ways that they can satisfy their landscape requirements. Food production is included in that, and then we also throw in rainwater collection because that's an excellent way to actually irrigate the landscape. So that's one aspect. I was really excited to hear what you were saying about the infrastructure planning, because planning the green infrastructure and the gray infrastructure in tandem at the same time is so powerful, and it creates opportunities that it's really challenging when you're trying to add green infrastructure in an existing city. We are trying to have many, many street trees. We have something we call the Great Street Standard, which has very wide sidewalks. It has bicycle lanes. It has bicycle racks. It has benches. It has street trees. But whenever we're trying to do these projects, we end up in conflicts with the utilities underground. The electric utility, they were like, nope, I need this space. You have to stay out of that area. The water utility says, no, this is my area. Then we have the communication cables. We have all of these different infrastructure, and there's nothing left for the poor little tree. And so we end up with these tiny little boxes for the trees. They can't live very long, so we have very short-lived street trees. They grow for a while, they die, then we have to plant a new one. So I'm excited to learn, hopefully, from what's going to happen in Nusantara and how we can actually plan those things together. We are investing so much in parks in Austin. I feel like we are in a golden era right now of new park development in Austin. We have several major new city parks. We have a creek redevelopment with parks, with trails. And we just opened the first park that has a major concert venue in it. So we're removing some of the concrete and trying to add more vegetation, so like some of the examples that you were showing. We have another project where there's a major roadway that's our spine right through the middle of the city called Congress Avenue that terminates in our Capitol building. We're the state capitol for the state of Texas. So the Capitol and the state representatives that agreed that they were going to close 3 blocks of Congress Avenue. So they built underground parking underneath where the street was. They closed the street and turned it into a 3-block park. It's like a giant promenade that terminates in the Capitol. And then on the other side of that is the University of Texas campus that also is doing some very interesting things with public art. So anyway, I'm very excited about what's happening with our parks. I do have one. I know we want to keep this dynamic. I have a really quick question for you. I was just curious, and
Please, the easy one.
I didn't understand. Well, I didn't understand as much about the topography until one of the slides that you showed for Nusantara. And this is one of the things as a landscape architect, it drives me a little bit crazy. So I'm curious if you guys are talking about balancing cut and fill in your grading, because so many of these projects, we don't balance cut and fill, and then we're exporting all this topsoil and we have to dump it somewhere, or we're bringing in soil from somewhere else, and we don't think about the carbon footprint of all that. So I was just curious about balancing cut and fill. I know it's kind of a dry, boring topic maybe to some people.
Okay, so you want the long answer or the short answer? Well, Lisa, how many minutes do I have?
Short answer, please,
yeah?
because we have to move forward to Q&A.
Right. Okay. I will try to make it snappy. Yeah. It's not only about the cut and fill, but also about the character of the soil. So this is one of the side that actually our team, and within the team we have the landscape designer. My partner actually is landscape designer. And also, I'm doing the master plan with the leader of the team, Sibarani Sofian. But landscape architect also have the support from the geology expert. So the geology and the geotech expert give us a lot of study about how the character of the soil actually, it cannot be easily removed or cut and fill. So even at up to the extent of some of the area, because of the type of the soil, because it's the sort of like the how to say, it's kind of like not really matured soil, so it's not really matured like the soil in Java Island, for example. We cannot trim it like more than a certain size. Like we cannot cut more than 2 meters. If we do that, all of the soil underground will go down. Yeah. So that's only one of the conditions that actually been given by the geotech expert to us. So we have the limitation of to do the cut and fill, even for the to make the development area wider. And also in between all of these hilly side, actually there is a lot of small stream, which has become the source of the water for the site. So it's also a very tricky thing. That's why the very initial plan of ours, it looks like an archipelago, because you have to really give a setback and distance from all of the surrounded stream and small water channel. So I think it's really difficult to answer it in short way, but to be honest, we have, before we do the calculation of the balance of current field, we have to start with how to deal with all of the topography nicely and minimize the current field. So that's the short
but that's beautiful, because you took my question to a whole nother level.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm pretty much on time here. So I'm going to open a session for Q&A. Is there any question from the audience here, or I can move forward to Instagram's question? Yeah, one here. Maybe state your name, and also address your question to whom.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Yeni. My question is for Lucia. Sustainable development is the goals. The one of goals is prosperity for the people itself. So what if the people do not allow their land to use for sustainable development itself? Is it we should we stopping the development, or should we continue the development? Thank you.
You want to answer right now, or should I?
That first question is really hard, but it's a good question. I've been talking in some of the other sessions that I've been in so far here in Jakarta about public involvement and public participation, and how important it is for us to be able to hear from our communities, especially those who are going to be the most impacted by a lot of these things. One of the things that I'll try to be fast, but one of the things that we did with our climate plan that we created in Austin is we actually formed teams that was both staff and people from the community. We have a lot of experts on staff, but we also have a lot of people in our community who have expertise. So we formed teams with them so that the plan was created by the community with staff, which is very different from the way we normally do it. And I think that's powerful because the people feel like it is their plan. And it is up to the city of Austin, to make sure the plan is being implemented, but we have to do that through partnerships. We also have to allocate government dollars, but we also need to partner with, the corporate sector and with neighborhoods to make the plan happen. But a little bit more specifically to your question, it's never, I can't give you a perfect answer for what you asked because that often is the conundrum. We went through something similar, along the lines of your question in Austin recently, where we were going to upzone much of our city to create more density. And we had some, quite a few people in the community that were very upset about that, and they did not agree with what was being proposed. So actually, the city council listened to that, and they pulled back the proposal, and they made it a little bit more of like a middle ground. They were going to have so much density; it was too much for people. So they didn't leave it, and just say we're going to make it just the way it is, and we're not going to touch anything. But they said, okay, that's too much for you, so we're gonna pull back to kind of a more temperate level of density, which people felt like they were being listened to.
Yeah, this question is kind of important because given the history of Jakarta, in 2014 to 2015, we have so many forced eviction happen at that time to make way for new developments such as, for waterways and also for parks, including for parks. So that's why she asked about that question. But I really like one of your example when you explain about how when you develop one of the main street and transform it into park rather than you evict some people, but you utilizing that your public infrastructure transform it into more like public place, which is heading towards to your capital building, that's one of the option. Instead of evict people, then why don't you transform the gray infrastructure, then make it into more, yeah. Okay, another question perhaps from the floor. Yeah, I really like this one because many women ask questions. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Ayu Shafira from Tanumanegara University. And I want to ask a question, like in some city or some country like Singapore, they can provide a good pedestrians or bicycle track for their urban sustainability development in their country. And I still wonder why in our city or our country, Indonesia and Jakarta, we can provide a great pedestrian and a bicycle track for our sustainability concept and development because we can constantly build the public transport like MRT, BRT, LRT for the sustainability urban development. But why we can provide a great pedestrian or bicycle while when the city can provide the good infrastructure for pedestrian or for the bicycles, we can make a new habits or a new culture like Pak Arzuna said, like we can sustainable is not just about the physics but the social and habit too. When the city can provide it, we can make a good culture or a good habit too for our sustainability urban development.
So is this the question or statement?
Yeah, it's a question like why
Why?
in Jakarta we can provide it?
Yeah, unfortunately, there is no one from Jakarta provincial government because that question actually have to be addressed to the government, right? But
Not to
perhaps
the designer, yeah, Bu Elisa, yeah.
perhaps Ibu Doti, because you probably partners with government sometimes and maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the sustainability is become government concern, also all our concern, yeah, professional also. That's why there is a regulation, yeah, about the sustainable issues, yeah, for bangunan gedung hijau, green buildings and others. That is all to supporting the green initiative, yeah, and actually is an is the habit should be about should be formed by the still in the top down system in Jakarta actually. Yeah, we create the public spaces, create public spaces, connectivity, then try to make the people and that profession become tools for the people be to make their habit, to be their habit. Actually like that. Still as top down. Yeah. One should be provide first, then people change their habit. Yeah. Maybe Pak Angga, maybe any other. Yeah.
If I may add a little bit on what Budoti already said. So if we talk about urban development, we also have to realize that actually there is there's not only one party that deal with the development and do the development. Like what Lucia said, actually I'm a bit surprised that actually the issues that you are facing there in Austin actually is very similar to what we are facing here. And Budoti and Bu Elisa also very know about this. So our city, it's built, I mean, a lot of city is built by a different authority. Each of the element, each of the area, each of the realm is responsible and handled by different authority. Like just what Lucia say, when we try to design the pedestrian path, and then there is a power line over there, and there is also a drainage underneath, and there is a little small tiny green spaces in it. And each of that element that I mentioned actually is handled by different authorities. So that's become a challenge how to do a coordination. Of course, the park people, they want a green to be bigger. But then the Bina Marga people, let's say the authority that handle the pedestrian path, they also want to assure that people can walk easily and have a wider a network of pedestrians. So it's all about how to coordinate between all of the things and make it like a one example, a good summary of the design and do it together. So I think what they do in Singapore, they have the regulation that they call the white lines. It means everything in the white lines in the regulatory or spatial plan, it have to be coordinated through one authority, which is URA. So that kind of rules actually it's I mean we are gearing towards that. Of course, as Ibu Elisa also mentioned, we have the luxury to learn from other cities' failure. So I think what we want to do is try to bring this failure, Budoti, and we sort of like make a concept of our own, how to deal with the not only the physical thing, but also the social and economic situation in Indonesia. And as you know, Lucia, in Indonesia, we have what we call the hawkers, the kaki lima, and they always occupied any vacant space in any of the space in the public realm. So it's very interesting because we have to deal also with them because this is the people that actually they are working for their economic and to give the family food and everything. So I think instead of questioning why we don't have that, let's try to think about how we're gonna achieve that in a shorter way. because like what I said in the presentation and looking at what Ibu Doti also sharing, we have the opportunity right now. We have all of the expert right now. We have all of the opportunity to change the regulation right now. We have all of you guys, the young people, the intellectual, academics, and brilliant guys now. So, and all of us already exposed to the information from any part of the world. I think maybe that's my sort of like closing remarks, how we're gonna deal with all of the lack of the infrastructure in Indonesia or Jakarta.
Maybe you want to add something?
I was just going to add, I think, I don't know the history of the city, but just as I've been driving around and looking around at what's going on, it seems like many of your roadways are very narrow, and there's not a lot of space available. So that is a challenge in and of itself, right? In where I'm from, we have so much sprawl. We have so many wide roads that are wider than they need to be, taking up space that is not really used for anything. So I really think, like in my city, it's actually easier for us to go in and take back some of the space that was given over to cars. We talk about putting the road on a road diet, and it means they have to give up several lanes that were for cars, and that's going to then become space for bicycles and pedestrians and trees. So that's a very popular, but we have much more space to begin with for, to be putting it on the road diet. Well, one other thing that I've seen that's been, I think, quite interesting, they have these groups that get together of bicycle riders. They call themselves critical mass. And they get rides together where they just take over streets with hundreds and hundreds of bicycles. And so you can't drive on the street when critical mass is happening. And they're going to show you that the streets are for the bicycles. And it's actually very powerful for all the bicyclists to get organized in that way.
Actually, we also have critical mass here in Jakarta. Anyone join the critical mass? Just in case? Oh, some of you? Oh, yeah. To make you feel a little bit happy, over the past 5 years, Jakarta have developed around like 285 kilometers new pedestrian, meaning that widen the pedestrian area. We also doing this road diet thing, but of course it's not enough. Especially like you said that we have so many alley, small streets and everything. Maybe it will remind you a bit to like Tokyo, with lanes and alleys. So yeah, maybe we should also rethink about how we share the road rather than occupy it with all kind of vehicles and all those things. So maybe I jump into.
Can I add one more?
Yeah.
What you were saying was just reminding me of Jaime Lerner in Brazil, and the story there is that they had a road that they wanted to close down to cars and turn it into a pedestrian mall. And I think that the mayor knew that it was just going to be so unpopular. He decided not to do any public process. In the middle of the night, they came and they ripped out the pavement. And so when people came the next day, there was no more street. It was the shops were opening up onto pedestrian. And people, I think, were angry at the beginning, but then they got used to it. And these cars will find another way to go.
We tried to do that in 2018 in Tanah Abang, but unfortunately a lot of people protest. Anyway, we should do that smarter.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah, sometimes it works. Yeah. Maybe we have to do more rather than redoing what happened in Tanah Abang. So maybe I'm going to the question from Instagram. So here's from Bian. How can cities promote sustainable transportation option to reduce carbon emission and traffic congestion? Maybe question for you, I guess, because you're doing a lot of things, and how you doing the push and pull thing.
Yes. I mean, even though we're investing in all of this public transportation, it's still difficult to get people out of their cars. But one of the things, and I'm glad the question came up because I wanted to mention this earlier and I forgot. From the behavior and the social standpoint, one of the things that we know is the best time to influence somebody to make a different choice for how they're commuting or getting around is when they move. So I'd love to see more funding coming into these behavior change programs. So when somebody moves into a new apartment building, there's a campaign and there's a welcome packet. and there's somebody who's an ambassador that comes and says, hey, did you know that we have this bus that stops only 1 block away? Let me take you and show you how it works. Here's some vouchers for the bus. That is the best time, because people don't like to change their habits. But when you move, you have to create new habits. So we need to think about how, not just building the infrastructure, but then the behavior. How do we get people to actually, change the way they're doing things? And we do have so much with the electric vehicles. Electric bicycles. I love my electric bike. I call it the great excuse eliminator. I have no excuse not to get on my electric bike, because even on a hot day, I'm not really going to sweat that much because I can have my power assist. So, I was asked once, if you could do one thing across the globe for sustainability, what would it be? And my answer was, give everybody in the world an electric bike.
This is one question that might be interested to you. Coming from the Zoom, from Han, from Housing and Settlement Expert. Okay, so I love to hear Mrs. Lucia perspective on the notion that while Austin is often considered as progressive, but you're coming from state of Texas, which is lean to conservative. So how you balance the things, with usually largely influenced by the close-tie oil industry. So how probably not prioritize about the issues of global warming. So how you balance that?
It's very challenging. It is an incredibly conservative state government, and we have quite a few very conservative state governments in the United States. Even though at the federal level we're quite progressive right now. So I was actually talking about this earlier, that it's a constant balancing act to figure out how far you can push something without the state coming back and saying, no, you can't do that. So it actually is a huge challenge we're having in many states in the United States. We call it loss of local control, where the state takes away the right for the city government to control what's happening in their city. But that extends even into things like deregulation of utilities and so forth, tree regulations. But I think we just kind of pick and choose our battles. We try to decide, where we want to push the hardest. And, even though some things are some of our abilities are being taken away from us, we still find other ways to work around it. We find incentives, we find legal ways to do it. So there's always a workaround for the conservative state level policies.
Yeah, I love that. So I have one question for both of you here. So his question from, Dila from Instagram. So she want to ask about what are some example and successful sustainable urban development project in Indonesia or perhaps in Jakarta, and what lesson that we can learn from that. So any favorite project and what you learn from that?
Actually, first is about the improvement of public transportation, because it's a part of plan of a low emission action is for Jakarta, and also the improvement on Kota Tua. Yeah, there's a low emission zone, so this is one of part to introduce to the citizen about that sustainable issues. That's one of it.
Any lesson learned from that? Because right now the lower emission zone in Kota Tua is no more. It's not activated anymore. Just because the car now going through Kota Tua, right, and just pass through that.
Yeah.
So what do you learn from that?
Yeah, because at this moment the Kota Tua, the traffic is only on the surroundings, isn't it? But we have a limitation to access by car at this moment. So if we only can park in some area, then yeah, it actually will create what we call action for low emission zone actually. And also the great one is actually the bicycle path. Yeah, we have a more bicycle path at this moment in Jakarta. That's a part of our approach actually, government approach for improving the quality of life in the with the sustainable development issues. Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah, maybe if we want to talk about the project, I think it's really difficult for me to say just point out about one project or one particular sort of like corridors, but we should talk about how the ecosystem is created. So I see the trend of the revitalization of the pedestrian path for the last 5 years and 6 years. Um, it's starting to open up and also give opportunity to several points in the city to be more activated. So the reactivation of the old buildings to become a new lifestyle center, and now it's really popular what we call the placemaking methods. So how to connect all of the points with the newly revitalized pedestrian path and all of the connection back to the transportation hub. I think how that ecosystem started to be created in Indonesia is really, really interesting. We can see the example in Duku Atas. You can walk between five different modes of transportation easily because there's a lot of plaza, there's a lot of bridges, there's a lot of sidewalk, and all of it is really accessible for everyone, not for cars. So I think how the sort of like the vision and the framework of urban design can also punching through to one area, not only to one point, and created the ecosystem. That's where a lot of things started to get excited. I think that's my short answer.
Okay. I also open another session for the floor. Ah, okay. Finally, we have a guy here. Otherwise, I
Yeah,
have to do affirmative action.
in my opinion, about getting an
Your name?
I'm Harry from EI. Yeah. Uh, in my opinion, to attain sustainable urban development, it's not just concerning about humans and the built environments and transportation, but also it involves or embrace ecosystem. Maybe people in the city, we need to get back into nature, we can see fishes maybe in the river or man-made ponds, or we can hear the birds chirping outside our windows. Maybe we can grow fruit trees around us or on the streets, and to make cutouts in front of shop houses or places by the roads. It's just needs maybe minimum 1 square meters or so. I think it will balance our ecosystems. Yeah. And number two, governments nowadays are keeping built roads. I think not just governments in Indonesia. I mean, concrete roads, which has like 30 centimeters high, and because I experienced myself on some roads that were that was made by asphalt, but then it changed to concrete, and it really, really hot on the surroundings. Yeah, because we have lack of green spaces, as you say. Yeah, maybe some feedback. Thank you.
Maybe this is a question for you as a landscape designer as well to address urban heat island. You know, we just hit like 36 degree here in Jakarta. It's like considered as like the hottest temperature ever for Jakarta. So maybe you can share some insight about that.
Well, the extreme heat is something that we share in our cities. We this past summer we had 78 days over 38 degrees, over 38 in Austin. It was brutal, brutal. I've never heard so many people talking about they're going to move away from Austin as this summer. So we have a lot of swimming pools, public swimming pools where people go to cool off, including one called Barton Springs, which is a natural spring-fed, very, very cold water. I agree with what you said about the need to connect to nature. I myself get very depressed and very out of sorts if I'm not able to connect with nature. During the pandemic, when I was working from home, it just saved me having a garden. I spent more time growing food, and I feed a lot of birds in my neighborhood, and it really helps my mental health. And we talk a lot about stopping light pollution to try to protect a lot of the migratory birds who actually migrate through our. We have a major flyway going right past our city, and a lot of the birds migrate at night. And we have also, we love bats. We have a big bat population in Austin. It's a big ecotourism draw. We have the largest North American bat colony living underneath the Congress Avenue Bridge. And everybody comes out to watch these bats come out. And then at night, they're eating millions of insects. So we love our bats. So we're always trying to think about how to have more nature in the city, whether it's just in people's individual yard. We have a habitat certification program where if you're providing food and cover and water and food through natural means with plants, you can get your yard certified as a nature habitat. So we have many little pockets of habitat. There's also a program I love in Portland that is called Pollinator Pathways. So it's very important for us to provide habitat for our pollinators, and we're losing a lot of our pollinators. So the pollinator pathways, they encourage people to plant the plants that are good for the pollinators in connected, from like lot to lot to lot, so that they can find a pathway with all of the plants that they need for pollination and for them being able to, survive. So things like our monarchs as well. So I think there's a lot of really, we have so many people in our community who love nature. They join all these different clubs and the Audubon, and we go bird watching. So I think it's a really exciting part of how we connect people to the idea of sustainability and to become very passionate about it and feel like that they have a connection to something that's bigger than themselves. So yeah, I could go on and on about this, but I think it's going to be really fun to see in Nusantara what happens with all of the habitat that's going to be set aside, but also hopefully habitat that's integrated into development, because we sometimes we think nature is separate, but really we are part of nature and nature is a part of us.
I think I still have like 3 minutes for last question, perhaps. Okay, Pak, silakan.
How about a question for some of the? I'm talking too much. How about some questions
Yeah.
for the other panelists?
Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rohit. I'm coming from the US Green Building Council. It was great hearing to the panel today. A lot of good insights. So my question is about, what do you think about industry and academia collaboration with respect to sustainable urban development? Because I don't know what's the background of the students out here. I'm sure most of them might be either architects or engineers. What about people from non-technical background? Sustainable urban development is possible only when the entire group is educated as a whole in terms of the facilities that the cities provide, or what needs to be done, what should not be done, how it is to be used, how it should not be used. So how do you think academia and industry should collaborate?
I think this could also serve as the final remarks for each. Yeah, okay. So
probably what can universities do to take it further in terms of education?
Yeah, what kind of collaboration that we can do among many type of stakeholders in the city? So maybe coming from Pak Angga. Yeah.
Okay, it's a very good question, and actually it needs another 2 hours for us to discuss it, because I believe each of us have a very interesting perspective for that. Maybe allow me to start with my own studio. So we established a studio, a multidiscipline studio. Actually, I have architects, urban designer, and landscape designer. And we came from the background that we used to work for a big American company that worked together across the fields. So we work with transport engineers, we work with transport planner, we work with environmentalists, we work with economists. So that kind of environment shaped us to be able to always integrate it with other services, any other type of fields that have to deal with together. Like Nusantara have to be done with all of the integration of different fields. It cannot be done only one engineer or one planner or one architect or landscape designer. So I think a lot of the projects that done by the government actually have to or must uh, following that path that invite and also involve a lot of multidiscipline experts, and not only the expert but also the users. When we are a lot of the project of the government for the pedestrian path revitalization, they involve the community of the livable people. So it's kind of like a testing ground for the design before it getting built, the overall and the complete part of it. And I think the biggest challenge for that actually, sir, is the time, because many of the government project always have a very short targeted time, even though they actually have the ability to do all of the integration. But I think in the future, I wish, I hope we can have more and more projects that actually work together across the fields and giving a little bit better time to all of the people to be able reach same understanding about the thing. And I think, I mean, in here also come a lot of people from different background, and I wish this is like become one of the starting point to do that. That's my take.
Yeah, as we know that Jakarta is in transition process. Yeah, what we do is rejuvenation, rebranding, and redefine the position of Jakarta in terms of sustainability, and we should seek balance between the ecological issues that we face and also economic issue, also social and cultural issues. On that side, we should coordinate with all city stakeholders, like we do with the government. Also, we should do with the public participation with the grassroots. So it kind of lots of collaboration with all city stakeholders that we do, and also we should have a discussion also with the academics for the universities, and we have done some focus group discussion with all stakeholders for heritage and conservation area, also the kampung, the high density area, to have a insight for future development of Jakarta. So it's should be a collaboration and synergy between all stakeholders. That's all.
There's so much really amazing collaboration that we are able to do in the work that we've been involved in with academics. We have done multiple projects working with researchers at the University of Texas and Texas Tech University. We work with the climate modeling teams. We also work with some LBJ Public School of Affairs folks that do sustainable city indicators project, where they collect data every year and publish reports that we use as KPIs. So there are a lot of things that we can't do without working with the people in academia, because we just simply don't. We just don't have the resources. Government typically is not considering themselves a researcher, and so one of the projects that also involved the community that I wanted to talk about was we have been collecting data on air quality and also urban heat island, and trying to get some more granular, detailed data for individual blocks and neighborhoods to understand where some of our hot spots are for air quality and for heat island. So we worked with a researcher at UT so he could analyze the data. Then we worked with Google Street View cars that were going to be driving all around the community anyway. So we put monitors into the Google Street View cars to collect the air quality information and also temperature. And then we also have worked with people in neighborhood organizations to become a part of these research projects. So they can volunteer to get some of the monitors that they can fix in place at their school or on their city block. They learn how to collect some of the data also. And we're learning as much from the community as they are learning from us. One of our neighborhoods, called Dove Springs, is a neighborhood that's economically disadvantaged. They've had people who have been displaced by flooding, and they are so well organized around climate resilience. They have people that they employ with the neighborhood organization that they go out as ambassadors into the community to help people be prepared for emergencies, to help people understand what resources there are. Were ahead of the city on doing initiatives like this. So we actually have followed their lead and now are creating a whole series of resilience hubs for neighborhoods across our city. But really, this neighborhood group, Go Austin, Vamos Austin, GAVA, they have been the leaders. They've been absolutely amazing. And so I defer, in many cases, to the wisdom of the community.
I hope there are some participants from our Ministry of Environment regarding the sensors, because what we really need right now regarding the pollution and all those things. So I guess that's a wrap. We learned a lot from you, from all the panelists actually, about the sustainability issues, about the community, about the design, the transformation, about Austin, of course, and about all kind of exciting projects in Austin that already implemented by you and also by many people there. And I hope that you also learn new things here as well. And thank you again for the U.S. Embassy and also at America who have organized this event. And hopefully we can have more architects or more urbanists in the future coming from the U.S. also learning and sharing with us in the future, hopefully. And not to you. So again, I give it to the MC about this. Okay.
All right, can we give another round of applause for all amazing panelists along with our moderator, Ibu Elisa, for navigating today's very insightful session. Hope everyone find it insightful and valuable as well, and I hope this discussion can increase the number of people participation and increase the number of collaborative works across elements. So earlier in this event, we asked the audience a trivia question, and the question was, urban sustainability builds along the 3 pillars of sustainability except, and the correct answer to that is D, political sustainability. Shout out to today's lucky one at Nugraha Himawan from Instagram for answering correctly. Thank you so much everyone for participating in our social media quiz. Don't forget to tune in next time and catch a chance to get a live shout out from us. You can also develop more brilliant ideas with a platform like this by simply visiting our website at www.atamerica.or.id. You can also submit your event ideas through our website and subscribe to be our member to receive more informative emails, informative notification of our upcoming events. Follow us on our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at AT America. You can also rewatch our previous programs on our YouTube channel at AT America with double A at the end. With that, it is time to say farewell. Thank you so much again for everyone for having us today. My name is Hasna. See you on the next At America event. Bye-bye, everybody.